Hey guys, gonna do another shave, Austere August, and I'm chuckling because today we're gonna try half a swirl in the soap container. The last two shaves, I did one complete swirl around, and it worked. All right, anyway, the gear, as usual, for Austere August, um, Zenith B35 boar brush, been soaking for several minutes. Timeless open comb, 68 gap stainless steel razor. The Nacet blade that we're going to put in it looks like this is use 515. Chisel Face Midnight Stag is the scent for the soap, the splash, and the cologne that we'll see later. The Circle of Death, is definitely happening. Is that a boar hair right there? Yeah, I guess it's got to be. Let's take that. Let's take that out. Can I? Yeah, okay. Gonna leave that in there. So, Circle of Death. Now you can see how moist the soap is. You can see it glisten. And that's part of the reason why such a short load is able to happen. If I pulled this out of the closet, having not used it for several months, I'm sure that one circle around would not gather me up enough. In combination with the moisture that's inherent now in the soap, because the method I've been using this month is really kind of a wet one. It comes to the soap puck here, the tub, it comes to the tub with quite a wet brush. So that leaves behind some extra moisture. The other reason why this is working is this brush. It is a 31 millimeter knot, so it's got lots of tips. It's got a lot of backbone there. Now the tips are very flexible. They're very soft. It feels good on my face. Doesn't feel scratchy or scritchy in the least. However, all that density due to the sheer number of tips, I think that also is what makes this crazy loading time work. Now, I was talking to Merikus, giving him some tips because he tried this method. My friend Jungilla, he tried it and he's been happy with it a couple times now. And he was one of the things that he really liked was just the speed of it. How he wasn't hurrying, and he was even using a single edge razor, a Weck Sextablade type razor with a Kismet blade in it. And he 6.5 minutes, something like that. 2-pass shave, I think, 6.5 minutes. And he wasn't hurrying. And so you get a really wet performance slick lather with this method, but it doesn't have to take a long time. And I'm not saying I'm going to do this method all the time. Once I kind of finish playing around with it and experimenting and learning about it, my friend Greg Gallant, he has tried it several times as well, and he's having similar results. Merikus jumped into it and tried it, and he said something must have gone wrong because he didn't really enjoy it, and that's okay. And so I may offer some extra tips and extra clarification in this video to maybe help him out. The cool thing is he's using the same brush. His may be less aged than mine. I think I have almost 40 uses on this one, and I treated it with a hair dryer during a lot of those in between times. My guess is he hasn't done that. I may have a better split tip situation than him. Okay, so I'm gonna start over now that I've been talking. The brush was dripping, so let's level the playing field. You know, and Merikus is using sterling sheep, which I have done a sterling lather with the slurry lather method maybe last year, and it works just fine from my recollection. It depends on how wet the soap is as to how much you might load for. If, like I said, when I brought this in the beginning of August, I had to load for 15 or 20 seconds because it didn't have any moisture inside of it. And then as it got a little bit more moisture, I was able to reduce that down to 10 seconds, down to 7 seconds. And now I'm counting swirls because it's just got a lot of residual moisture in there. All right, so let's get at her. Pitter patter, let's get at her. I am gonna get my face wet. All right, having a wet face may be really critical to this method, especially in the latter passes when you're coming at it with a brush that's kind of already loaded up. It doesn't matter as much in the beginning because the brush that you have is going to be dripping wet as you work the lather on your face in the very beginning. So here's my Nacet blade, and I'm putting some marks on it so that you can kind of identify it. You can even see down where my middle finger is right here. There's going to be a glint in the edge of the blade where I dropped it and it got bent a little bit. I think maybe I was talking to Greg about sending the blade to him for microscopic photos and examination, and he was into that. But I might take it to, instead of sending it right to him right after Austere August, I might shave with it up to 550, just kind of put a nice round number on it instead of 531 or something like that. All right, so the razor's ready to go. Half. Now we're going to be fair. Okay, this is kind of lopsided. Okay, so half a swirl over here obviously is going to be very different than half over here. So let's make it symmetric. Maybe something like this is kind of symmetrical with on this side we've got a large and a small bit. This side we've got a large and a small bit. So this is, we're going to bisect it like with this line. And so I'm going to start here at the bottom and come around right there. half a swirl. All right, now how much water to put on the brush? That's one of the variables with this method. Now this is a big bore brush, and one of the things you can do is hold it at a certain angle. You can feel the weight of the water. You can shake it a little bit and see how easy the water comes out. I've tried it with different ways and it all seems to work, but it's possible maybe if you came at it a little too dry, then it wouldn't work as well. If you come at it too wet, it's only messy. I don't think it's a real problem. It just puts a lot of water on your shirt, you know, so maybe wetter is a better way to err in this case. All right, I got that line bisected properly. I haven't moved the tub. Here we go. Half. I bet it won't work, but let's try it. And there we go. There we go. All right. And then we have the really wet brush. It's got a little bit of soap on it. Now what it is I do have a bowl here, and I'm letting just a few drops, any drops that are coming out right now as I move it around, I'm letting that just drop into the bowl there. All right. Lightly here because I want the tips only. Oh, there we go. See, it's starting to suds up. Don't want to dump out the water. That's hilarious. You can tell I have had plenty of water in the brush because it is coming out. And that is something you can tweak as you play with this method if you would like to try it. How much water to leave in your brush. You can shake out more and then have less dripping on your shirt, and just figure out how much you prefer. Didn't spend too much time here. This is very slick. You can touch it with your finger. Make sure that it's super slick, and it is. I mean, guys, that's half a swirl, and look at the brush. It looks like it has enough lather to do 3 passes. Oh, that is funny. Okay, now shaving as you might normally shave. My website that I wrote to help me track my shaves, I mainly wrote it to make it easier for me to post in the right format for things like, matter of fact, I think it was for Austere August. That's when I started it, because I'm a web developer by trade. And I've added features as I've progressed, and I really like it. Unfortunately, it would take too much work for me. I would love to bring it to you guys, but it would take, and it's got a lot of analytical stuff and customizations and things like that, but I'm afraid it would take too much development time. Now, right now, you know, the residual feel on my face during that rinse is still slick. It's not as luxuriously slick as when I loaded for longer, you know, 1 or 2 swirls, that kind of thing. But it's still slick enough to do the job. Right now, I'm not trying to see if I can get 3 awesome shaves out of half a swirl, awesome passes out of half a swirl. I'm just seeing if it's possible to get 3 reasonable lather passes. Okay, so here we go. Still, something I was outlining for merikus is that pass number 1, the lather you experience should be that slurry. It should be a bubbly kind of mess, very, very, very wet. Shouldn't look like a mature lather at all. It maybe we should look at this kind of stuff right here on the side of the brush, you know, because it's just so wet, and the soap is more floating around in it rather than mixed thoroughly homogeneously through it. Okay, so the second pass then looks more like a normal lather, but it's still a very wet version of a normal lather, as if it's halfway between that slurry and a normal, nice, creamy, super wet lather. And so the third pass is often going to look more like that normal, creamy, nice, luxurious lather. Okay, and then so the second one is kind of halfway between, still very wet, and so my face should look a little different than the first pass. You can start putting a little bit more pressure now because you don't have to worry as much about dumping the water out. Also, it's kind of funny. A lot of people say you have to load a lot with big brushes. I guess we know that's not true, is it? Yeah, see, so there we go. This very wet. Look at this. This is plenty of lather for a third pass. Half a swirl in your tub. Whew, my goodness. And so we it's a much more normal looking lather because I spent a little bit more time just enjoying it, and that's, if you want to do that, then do that. I could have probably stopped a little sooner, but no big deal. We know I have plenty of lather left in the brush. It's still very wet, and so we know that it's going to be plenty in terms of quantity as it comes together even more on the third pass. I didn't really plan on making Austere August about the slurry lather method. And I did not know that I would be discovering this type of duration of loading. I did not know that I would be finding out how little you really needed to load to get up enough. Now, is this, here's the question though, is this method one that just uses even less soap than I normally would? And I'm pretty miserly, you know, 0.4 grams of soap per shave. That's kind of about what I use. Water now. During the splash of water in the rinsing process, it definitely still feels slick. It's definitely not as slick as the larger load times. You know, you can tell we're getting towards some kind of line that where we're going to run out. Okay, now see right there, it's kind of really wet. Okay, but let's take the time now with that third pass, if you want to, right? To see what kind of lather is left in the brush. Take that water, really mix it with the soap that's left, because I think that's why the slurry lather is successful. Still here in the third pass, we've got plenty. I've got another pass of lather in the brush. You know, I've got 4 passes of lather in the brush. Because why? Because I didn't make the lather in the very beginning. I didn't bring the raw materials together fully until right now. And it just so happens that those raw materials, even when in a slurry state or just a highly wet state, are still super slick and shaveable, shave worthy for sure. Yeah, there's a 4th pass easily in this brush. That's crazy. I'm gonna start having to do some kind of proof to you guys, like taking the brush and wringing it out before the shave so you can see there's no residual soap in there. Holy cow. I didn't expect it to be like this. I did not expect to have this kind of lather on my face for the 3rd pass and this much still on the brush. Let's shave 4 passes and let's see what's on the brush after that. Whew, my goodness. So this slurry lather method doesn't have to be a fast method, but it can be. And, you know, but Greg Gallant, who has tried it, and Jungilla, they both have really enjoyed the shaves that they've gotten in a short amount of time with this method. And they're using single blade razors. They're not even using double-edged razors here. They're using something more like a straight razor. And so I may have to see if I can beat their record, right? Surely me with a double-edged. Now, water. So that's the 3rd pass down the drain and off my face, leaving wetness. And yeah, I still feel some residual slickness. So we're in good shape. 4th pass. 4th pass of lather. That is not skimpy, is it? We'll see what happens once we kind of move it around a little bit. Because you don't really need big old Santa's beard on your face. Anything thicker on your face is wasted because the blade only needs the lather that's right there near your skin surface and its edge, which is a very tight tolerance. But look, this is not skimpy. I've got clods on there, and I've got another pass of lather in the brush. That's crazy. That's just really, I did not expect this. I keep saying it's, I mean, you can even see that moisture from the brush. See, you can just see it floating around in there. And so it's just a really moist soap. And so it gives itself up readily because of that. It's not magic. It's just the number of bristles here with the backbone because of all those boar bristles. And it's still soft and comfy on the face because the tips are bending. But the tips still have enough backbone just to pick up enough soap to do the job. Shaving off the 4th pass here with half a swirl, my dudes. I don't need to do a 5th pass. Face feels good. And there we go. Half a swirl. And I'm still going to be rinsing lather down the drain. Oh, let's not rinse it down the drain until you can see it. Okay, we've still got a little bit there in the bowl because, you know, the brush was just resting there. Okay, so that we've got a little bit there, but let's never mind that. How much is in the brush? That's a good bit. Okay, the brush is now empty. And this is plenty for a nice creamy pass. Pass number 5 right there. No problem using that. Nice and slick. Now it's not very dense. You know, if you like a kind of a dry lather, then you should have less water in your brush. But this method is specifically for guys who need kind of performance lather, speed as well. And wetness is going to be key to both of those, I think. 5 passes of lather from half a swirl. All right. As always, rinse your animal hair brushes really well. Don't leave any soap in the bristles because the chemistry of the soap, I think it's a base. I think it will kind of eat away at your natural hair bristles. You don't want that shedding, that kind of thing. You do not want that. So, look, here's one coming out. Almost 40 uses, maybe 39. It will be the use count for this particular brush. After this shave, I opened up the razor, a nice little gap there, ran some water through it. Another nice thing about these really wet lathers, it makes rinsing your equipment really easy. That residue just doesn't build up on your razor edge, you know, because it's just so wet, it just cleans away so easy. And let's give my face a good rinse. 4 passes of lather there. How about that? That's where it's used. I didn't use the 5th pass. Midnight Stag Splash from Chiseled Face. A little bit of stinging due to the alcohol, but it's very mild. And then I always have a little bit extra on my hands and to get that scent as many places as I want it. Oh, you can also do your forehead. No reason not to do that. You can do the back of your neck. It's just as if you're really anything. If it's only an alcohol product and it just has the scent with it, then why not put the scent, you know, other places on your body? But if it's nourishing, like this is a little bit, where it has like glycerin, where it has, what is that, witch hazel? Yeah, calendula. See, that's nourishing for your skin, so it can help out other parts of your skin, not just your face. Very good, and we'll go ahead and do the cologne, man. That is going to smell this room up nicely. Midnight Stag, the fragrance. All right, I cleaned up the brush. It's ready to go. I will probably hair dry it, so let me do that right now, show you the result. And here is what the brush looks like after a hair dryer treatment. Gentle, not drying it enough to where the tips are crispy. Still has plenty of moisture here in the middle of the bristles, and that over the next couple hours, that's going to actually come up and make it a little wetter up here as it dries. And yeah, so you can see the splay here, and that's why it just feels so good on my face. And if I look at the tips here, there are plenty that have split. There's some that have split 5 different tips, and some that have broken around the edges, some that maybe used to have some splits but are shorter than they used to be. You know, some have broken. I'm not saying this is the hair dryer is great for longevity. I can't say that for sure yet, but I'm going to keep trying it. I like what I'm seeing so far. Oh yeah, look right there. There's a little guy. He's got one split down the shaft about 1/8 of an inch, and then we got another split developing right at the tip there. So multiple splits, definitely. And then we've still got a lot of hairs that haven't split yet. And so that's something that helps me to think that this dryer method isn't going to be too abusive, because some tips are still quite slow to split. But that also means that in the future, extra softness is coming gradually. So there we go. That's the shave. And yeah, there you go. You can see the wetness of the soap. That's why it picks up so easy. This is not magic. All right. How about that? Half a swirl. All right. You guys just rejoice in the oddity of that with me, right? You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. All the best to you and yours. Good night.